Greetings to all, and welcome to the Jamaica Diaspora Show. My name is Mark Millward of the West Indian Social Club of Hartford, and I'm your host. The Jamaica Diaspora Show is aimed at providing viewers with coverage of diaspora news and activities in a variety of areas, including business, arts, health, education, entertainment, politics, immigration, trade, and investment. Our first show featured an exclusive interview with the Most Honorable Andrew P. Holness, Prime Minister of Jamaica, who talked about the Economic Growth Council and harnessing the power of the diaspora. Tune in for more coverage in the future on the activities of the Economic Growth Council and diaspora engagement. Hartford, Connecticut is the third largest population of Jamaicans in the United States, behind Miami and New York. We intend to provide our viewing audience with global diaspora perspectives and coverage from the US, UK, Canada, Jamaica, and of course the Caribbean. Please join us weekly, Saturdays at 2 p.m. and Sundays at 3 p.m. on Hartford Public Access Television, providing global television network coverage at www.hpatv.org. Greetings and welcome to the Jamaica Diaspora Show. My name is Mark Millward and I have a very special guest today. Naisha Yen Jones is a choreographer, is a writer, is a director, is a artist of how many years has it been? Welcome to the Jamaica Diaspora Show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's my pleasure to be here.
And you are quite have a wide range in your background. Tell me about your work in the choreography and the industry.
Well, it's been a long time. I mean, my first job I got was when I was 19, and that was in London. That was called Copacabana. That was in Denmark when I was traveling as a dancer. I got that job at the same time as I was also offered Dirty Dancing, where I played Nala and Shenzi. That was also in London. Yeah, so it started a long time ago.
All right. Now, as I get into the fact that I want to establish that you are a very experienced performer.
Yeah, it's been a long
I
time.
want to get more into your background and where you were born and where you were raised.
Yeah, well, primarily I'm a Jamaican, and I'm proudest of that. I was born here in Jamaica. Like most Jamaicans would understand, you know, there's always a migration that happens with your parents, you know, sometimes with your grandparents or whatever. So I was a product of that.
Okay.
So at a young age, I think I was 9 at the time, I went over to London and carried on, you know, in the industry. When I say in the industry, I mean training in singing and dancing.
Now, what age was that?
When I was 9.
9? Okay. So you left Jamaica at that time? Okay, so...
Went to London.
All right, so your high school years were...
Well, I was a very progressive young lady. I have an older sister. She's a year and 11 months older than me. So we went to school together called St. Richard's Primary School, which is obviously here in Jamaica. And when she graduated from primary school and went to high school, being the young lady that I was, precocious, I wanted to go to high school too. So I forced my mom to allow me to take the test. So I got into a high school here in Jamaica at a very early age and went off to high school. So I did actually do high school here, just a couple of years. And then...
So how did that work? You left at 9, then you came back?
No, I left for a long time. And came back this time. I mean, I came back for holidays and visited and stuff like that, but I didn't live here anymore. So I lived in London primarily and, you know, carried on in the industry working and doing things like that. And then after a while I decided that I wanted to come back to Jamaica and give back all that I've learned, because when I was in London studying dance and musical theatre and singing and acting, performing arts. I remember being in a studio in London, and I was the only little black girl in the studio at the time. There were 60 of us in class, and I was the only one. And I remember being forced to having to wear pink ties, My teacher would say to me, being the precocious young lady that I would ask my dance teacher, like, why do I have to wear pink ties? And she said, because it's closest to your skin tone. And I said, well, it's not closest to my skin tone, can I, because everybody was white, so it was closest to their skin tone, but not to mine. There's a movement now, luckily, that, they're making black ladies, black young girls wear, tan tights. That wasn't around in my day, so I had to suffer through the pink tights, unfortunately.
What years was this? What,
oh my gosh, I don't know, 2000s somewhere, yeah.
That's quite interesting. Now, your educational background, your training, your dance training, talk about that. Who were some of the trainers that you had in dance?
Well, I have to start out here first because I went to Queens High School when I was here in Jamaica. And, there's a gentleman called Adrian Fletcher. So he trained me and my sister when I started. So I did start out doing some ballet and stuff like that here and entering festivals and, Jamaica, JCDC. I used to do that here, festivals and stuff like that. So that's been going a really long time. When I went over to London, I carried on training, went to college in that, got my degree in that, got stuff like that. So I knew from a young age what I wanted to do.
So your trainer, Adrian Fletcher, now...
Initially.
That was one of the
when I was very young, yeah.
Okay.
I was very fortunate in the fact that when I was in London, I was offered a scholarship. I was fortunate that I was always able to come across the right persons to help me along my journey. So I'm very blessed for that because I always had mentors in the industry.
Okay. Now, so he was Adrian Fletcher was your earliest one of your
that I can remember, yeah.
Trainers. What other people have you trained with?
Oh God, there's a lot. The most important one for me that I have to, I'm grateful for this moment that I can say thank you to her. Her name is Jackie Mitchell, and she was the director of Millennium Dance 2000, which is a musical theatre college in London. And she took me under her wing. She nurtured me. I mean, when I was in London, because as I said earlier, all my family was here in Jamaica. So whilst I was spending time in London, I was all by myself. So my mom lived in Birmingham, and I had a scholarship to go to school in London. So there was no family or friends in London, and that's like 3 hours from Birmingham. So I was very much alone. But she took me in, and she taught me the trade, and whenever I felt like I can't do anymore, she would encourage me. And I remember there was a time I had a scare, and I thought I had cancer actually. And I had to do an operation. And the whole school band together, she in particular, and they made sure I had the best care. The hospital was amazing, my private room and everything. I was young, like 16 or something, and they really looked after me. So she died recently. Oh my God, it was so upsetting. But there's so many people across the globe that can say she impacted them so deeply. So that's Jackie Mitchell. And
so how many years? How many years did you study with her?
4. Well, the thing is, I was at the college for 4 years, but I studied with her to this very day because I still hear her voice saying, "Wow, come on, you gotta get it together. What are you doing?" I still hear her.
Do you have
now.
tapes of her?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'd have to go back in the archives, but I could find something. I mean, the school is still going. It's very strong. It's actually more popular now. It's actually a larger school now than it used to be then. So they're doing really well.
Now, what would you say? As a dancer, your techniques, or where are you strong? Modern, ballet, or...
See, this is a testament to the school that I went to because emphasis was placed on all of them, all the disciplines. So I had to be strong in ballet. So I had to be strong in modern, I had to be strong in jazz, I had to be strong in tap, had to be strong in singing, had to be strong in acting. There was no, you'd get left behind.
Is there any form of dance that you gravitate towards or prefer?
Jackie taught me jazz.
Mhm.
So jazz has a special place in my heart. And the particular jazz style that she trained in was mathematics.
Mhm.
And that's something that I am a specialist in, and that's something that I love and particularly enjoy.
Mhm.
However, play some ballet music and some piano, and
Mhm.
that takes me back too. So I think my two loves would be jazz and ballet, I think.
Okay, now can you talk to me about some of the performances that you've done? Some of the work that you've actually
Yeah.
done as you have matured as a dancer, choreographer, writer, director, performer.
Yeah.
Can you talk about some of the things that you've
Yeah, I was really, oh gosh, I've done so much in such different areas because I started off actually, yes, I was dancing and doing stuff like that, but my first professional qualifications actually came in acting.
Okay.
So I went to London Academy of Music and Dramatic Arts, and that's where I got my acting qualifications, to be honest. And I mean, I went to my teacher in Birmingham at the time, and I said to him, I love this acting and I want to do this. And he said to me, yes, you're good at that, but you can act anytime. Dancing, your body is only going to be this beautiful for such a short time.
Mhm.
So I made a decision then to kind of press with the dancing as opposed to press with the acting. That was the plan. But then the first job I got outside of college was Nala. Nala is a lead role, so she primarily had to sing and act as opposed to dancing.
Mhm.
And subsequently, most of the jobs that I had gotten after that was playing roles or covering roles, certainly, that ended up having to utilize more the vocal and the acting part of my training as opposed to the dancing.
Mhm. Now your degrees, you talked about your education.
Mhm.
What were the colleges that you attended?
Well, Sample College was in Birmingham, and then you had Millennium College, which was in London. You also had Wednesbury College, that was in London as well. So
So were they bachelor, master's degree?
the
programs?
bachelor program, I have a few licensure programs. I also did IDTA, which is International Dance Teachers Association, and that goes up to a level 8,
Mhm.
which would be the equivalent to a degree. I also have a Giacchetti in ballet. I don't know if you know the Giacchetti Institute,
Mhm.
which is a ballet institution, and I have that up to level 6.
Mhm.
So the level after that would be a diploma level. So there's loads of different things in that
Okay.
area. Yeah.
All right. So, Nisha Yen,
Yes. Sir.
we will want to take a break right now
Okay.
for a very brief moment. And when we come back, I want to talk to you about your focus now as a dancer, choreographer, and particularly I want to get into the salsa that I witnessed at that point in time when I was here in Jamaica.
Definitely. Be delighted to.
We'll be right back with Nisha Yen Jones. And we're back with Nisha Yen Jones on the Jamaica Diaspora Show. I want to mention that we are on location in Kingston, Jamaica, and I am so pleased to have Nisha Yen here with me. She is a fascinating choreographer, writer, director, performer, and a very, very talented person. Before the break, we said that we were going to talk some more about your focus in dance right now, which has been in salsa.
Well, one of my focuses.
One of
definitely,
those
yeah.
focuses. Can you talk about the salsa dance?
Yeah, well, it kind of came about. Well, I did a show in London called Dirty Dancing.
Mhm.
Everybody knows the movie Dirty Dancing, right? The film Time of My Life with Patrick Swayze and Jennifer Grey, I think her name was, whatever. So the writer for that decided to do a musical. So when I did that musical, I think that was like 6 years ago, I had to learn such dance styles as like tango. I had to learn, obviously, bachata. You know, obviously we're doing jazz and stuff like that. I had to learn the jive, mambo, and I had to learn salsa, obviously. And I fell in love with salsa. So this happened a while ago.
When you say a while ago, how long ago?
5 years ago.
5 years ago.
Yeah, when I was in Dirty Dancing in London.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when, 6 years ago, at the start of my contract
Mhm.
in London, because the contract lasted a year. And when I came to Jamaica 5 years ago, so I left Dirty Dancing and came here, I was seeking to fulfill that need, you know? So whilst I was here, there was a thriving salsa scene, people were doing amazing things, so I joined in. So I was just joining as a participant, enjoying salsa. Over the years, being here in Jamaica, I know, and studying, because I lecture at Edna Manley College of Visual and Performing Arts as well. So whilst I was there, I noticed that certain things were kind of not being codified in a sense, you know? So we're studying folk forms, and we're studying ballet, and we're studying modern, we're studying all these things here in Jamaica. But no one is studying like what's happening in salsa here. So I remember there's a research day called Professor Rex Neckerford's International Research Day, I don't know if you know it, and I wanted to present something. So I presented something called "We make them take it, now we take it back," which means we allowed them to take something from us, but now we're taking it back from them. I noticed that whilst I'm here in Jamaica, I would learn about something like Cuban modern, and I would learn about Cuban salsa. But there was nothing to be said about Jamaican modern or Jamaican salsa. And I'm like, well, why is that? Because we were colonized here in Jamaica, as you know, and so was Cuba. But they've managed to develop something that is theirs in that area, but we in Jamaica haven't done that. So last year I did a presentation, I think that's where I met you, on salsa in Jamaica and why it's not being recognized as a form in itself, you know, Jamaican salsa, because we have access to different kind of music here, you know, the reggaeton and whatever, that all comes out of our culture, but why is it not being recognized as a thing here? I think that could significantly increase our tourism. People would come to Jamaica to learn salsa, come to Jamaica to learn Jamaican modern and stuff like that. So that's an area that I wanted to further research. So when I did that, I found out some stuff about salsa in Jamaica and the fact that we're not really writing it down. We're not really making a record. Like if you search on YouTube, you find lots of videos of people doing salsa in everywhere else in the world, but no videos of people doing salsa in Jamaica. I have a problem with that, because salsa is amazing here, you know? Some amazing dancers doing just as amazing things as they're doing in Cuba or in New York or in LA. Like I said, I was in London.
And so when you began to focus on salsa, where were you? Were you in Jamaica?
No,
Were
man,
you in
I was
London?
here. I was here.
Is when you started to
That's-
focus on salsa.
Yeah, when I say focus on salsa, that's when I realized that there was a gap, that there was something missing. So when you say focusing on salsa, I just wanted to fill a need. And the need that I'm trying to fill is not to say that there aren't persons doing amazing things in salsa here, because they are, long before I came to Jamaica. So I'm not the one that's all of a sudden saying salsa in Jamaica. It's just that the ones who are doing salsa don't realize the importance of notation, you know, of documentation. You know what I'm saying? So because I am pursuing my PhD paper, I know how important it is to document and to research and dig deep and stuff like that. So we have a culture here in Jamaica, which I love. I love my people. I think we're just such awesome persons. But even something like dancehall, for example, and we are not the forerunners in dancehall. You know, even though we're the ones that create the music and we create the dance and we create everything, yet you cannot get a degree in dancehall here in Jamaica. It would be laughed at, in fact. What's your degree in? Oh, dancehall, excuse me? However, if you go to China, Japan, and in Europe, you can literally have your degree or your master's in dancehall and Caribbean culture and Jamaican culture and stuff like that. Yet that's not necessarily something that you would pursue here in Jamaica, because we don't recognize the significance of what it is that we do and how to codify it.
With regards to salsa, have you been to Cuba? Have you been to Puerto Rico? Have you witnessed the salsa the way they dance?
I have been to Cuba. I have not been to Puerto Rico. Well, I went to Puerto Rico a long, long time ago before I knew anything about salsa. But I have been to Cuba to see some salserio over there, and seeing what they're doing. And that's when I realized, like, a lot of their salsa incorporated what we would call folk here in Jamaica.
Mhm.
And literally they would do steps that is step for step exactly the same as some of our folk forms here.
Mhm.
And yet that would be called Cuban salsa. Yet it is authentic to us here because, you know, if you believe in slavery and you believe in the diaspora, if you believe in what happened, then you know that we all kind of have the same history.
Mhm.
So why is it that it's celebrated in one place and it's not necessarily looked down upon, but it's ignored, or it's not of value in another place? So that's more my mission, is to just say, hey, this is something that we can identify with. This is a part of who we are, you know?
Yes. Now let's get into your background. You mentioned Ed Manley, where you teach.
I teach jazz, modern, ballet, and musical theater. Mhm.
Now you were also performing with the National Dance Theater Company also?
Yes, I was a soloist with them, and I choreographed on the company as well.
Now, the National Dance Theater Company has a tradition of Caribbean dance
Mhm.
that is, I want to say, unique in that the Caribbean performers, they, because of the swing, as they say, the movement of the hips and the swing of the shoulders, that is a trademark of the Caribbean people.
Yes.
Now, when we look at incorporating salsa into this culture, what significant differences are you able to describe to the viewers with regards to bringing in the movement?
Well, for me, what have I
becomes
noticed?
unique?
What's
Because
unique?
we are Jamaican.
Jamaicans.
Right.
Well, what I've noticed is Jamaica definitely has an emergent salsa style. We do, like you mentioned, we have a way in the movement of our pelvis that is different to how other persons will move their pelvis. If you look at salsa, for example, in New York, which I studied, and also in London, you'll see that the pelvis is the back, the spine is underneath. So it's a straighter spine. You find that in Cuba, they tend to arch their back and lean forward a little bit as they're dancing with their partners. Whereas in Jamaica, because of the movement of our derriere, if you like, or the size of our derriere, we tend to have an arch in our lower back as we salsa. You know what I'm saying? So the look of salsa here in Jamaica is different. So we definitely have our own thing going on. You know what I'm saying? But we're not paying close enough attention to be able to isolate those little nuances. To say, yeah, here is Jamaican salsa. You know, this is Jamaican salsa. So what you hear is American style salsa, or you hear Cuban style salsa, but you never hear anything about Jamaican style salsa.
So is that something that you foresee as evolving from,
For sure.
from what you are
For sure.
trying to accomplish?
For sure.
Well, I know that you have salsa dancers.
Yes,
that,
yes.
You brought to the studio today,
Mhm.
and you are going to give us a demonstration.
Yes. So what you're gonna see, there's gonna be a lot of us dancing together. You're gonna see a lot of different things. We have one of our dancers here. His name is Steven, and Steven is he does break dancing. He does dancehall exceptionally well. He does salsa exceptionally well. He's a free spirit, and he enjoys the freedom that dance allows him. So we're gonna see him do salsa in a way that is so unique to him, and yet so Jamaican in its freedom and its authenticity. Also, we have someone else called Vonore who's here. Now, Vonore is a little bit more classical looking in the way he executes the salsa, but that's here too. We also have Nicole, and Nicole is beautiful, and the way in which she expresses salsa is also so unique to us here in Jamaica as a culture, because we have our saying here, out of many, one people. You know, so what you're gonna see is just a mix, just a plethora of so many different Jamaicans that look so different, dances so differently, but you will see something that is so intrinsically Jamaican, which is we're free, we're the way we move our pelvis, the way we, So we have, not to forget, Wayne and Kamala are here as well, and they've been doing salsa for many, many years. I think they've been doing salsa longer than we have, for such a long time. And they definitely incorporate dancehall in their salsa and everything, and tricks and flips, and just amazing. And we have Pablo here. Pablo loves Cuba. He goes to Cuba all the time, Paul. And he takes a little from over there and a little over here, and he mixes them together. And so it's just a nice melting pot of lots of differences that you're going to see, and I think it's going to be quite enjoyable. What I bring to the table, however, is my training of lines and my my blackness of earth. So you're going to see those two blended together in what I bring to the salsa table. So we're all wonderfully different, yet the same.
Well, Nisha Yen,
Very good.
I am anxious to see this.
Yeah.
So I'm going to remove myself.
Right? You don't want to dance with us?
No, we're gonna take a break, but
Okay.
when we come back, we're gonna allow you to
Do my
lead
thing.
your thing
All right.
and show the viewers on the Jamaica Diaspora Show what salsa in Jamaica is all
Looks
about.
like. Yes, we're going to
Okay.
do it for you.
We'll be right back. Now,
Yes.
Nisha,
Yes.
I want to step back because we were talking about salsa,
Mm-hmm.
and you have, as a performer, performed off Broadway,
Mm-hmm.
London. Tell me about some of the
Yeah.
performances and performing that you've done in
Yeah.
your career.
Okay, well, oh gosh, I look back so fondly. 5 years ago was my last show. Like I said, I was in Dirty Dancing. But the first show I did, like I said, was Lion King, where I played Nala and Shenzi. But whilst I was doing Lion King, actually, being the kind of, like I said, I was very precocious when I was young, right?
Mhm.
I also auditioned for a show called Stomp. I don't know if you're aware of it.
Yes, I understand.
So whilst I was actually, this is actually illegal, but whilst I was performing in Lion King, I was also performing in Stomp at the same time. So Lion King was actually at the Vaudeville Theatre on the West End in London, Covent Garden, and Stomp was Lion King was at the Lyceum Theatre, and Stomp was at the Vaudeville Theatre. So I used to like rehearse with Stomp in the day and then run around to Lion King in the evening. That's not allowed, so I'm very naughty for doing that. But at the time, you wanted to experience everything that performing had to offer. So I did those 2 shows, which was just wonderful, such a great experience. And I ended up touring with Stomp and going all over with that show, so Japan, and went to Denmark and toured, and went to Cyprus and did some stuff Broadway, and did, so we toured a lot.
How many years? How long was that?
Well, the Stomp
yeah.
tour, the wonderful thing about Stomp, that they're so amazing. I did Stomp before I had my daughter. She's now 12, and I did it for a period of 6 years. But within that time, I also did other shows. So I was also in a show called Porgy and Bess, which was performed at the Savoy Theatre, and that was choreographed by Sir Trevor Nunn. I don't know if you've heard of him.
Savoy is
In London.
Okay.
So I sang songs like Summertime. I don't know if you know Summertime. You know that song?
You're a singer too?
I do.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I had
I missed that.
That's a secret, it's not really. But yeah, but Nala had to sing. Nala has a couple of solos that I had to sing in that show, and Shenzi also was a hyena, she had to sing. So, I was singing in those shows. And Porgy and Bess, which I thoroughly enjoyed. And I was also fortunate enough to perform in The Harder They Come. I don't know if you know Sir Jimmy Cliff.
Mhm.
That's, he did that movie many years ago. And then it was done as a musical in London at the Barbican Theatre, and I was fortunate to be in that as well. So yeah, that's a couple of the shows that I've done that I can recall. I've also written some shows, and yeah, it's a great experience. I did TV as well, so I've done some shows for TV,
Mhm.
and I'm presenting a TV show as well at the moment.
Right.
So yeah, I have a varied career.
Yeah,
So
very.
singing, dancing, acting, choreographing, presenting. Writing, directing. I am currently looking to write a show for TV that I'm hoping that the local network here will, support and then run with that. So hopefully by the time I see you again in a few months, I'll tell you that, that happened.
Mhm.
So, I think life is for living, and it's the same thing with performing. You're always trying to seek new opportunities. You're always trying to grow.
Mhm.
As an artist, what else can I do? How can I push the boundaries a little more? How can I develop myself a little more,
Mhm.
So I always enjoy that kind of thing. And that's also why I'm really excited to research, because that's something that I haven't done a lot of. So, as a performer, you tend to be your body or your artistic creative expression. So you don't always get the chance to work the other side of the brain when it comes to research and analytical skills and stuff like that. So I'm really excited about one day saying, my name is Dr. Jones,
Well,
That would take me
Nisha,
forever.
I'm sure that's going to come.
I hope
Because
so.
You're,
I don't know.
You're
It's a long
amazing. You are
time. Bless you.
absolutely amazing.
Thank you so much.
And
I'm trying.
I'm so pleased that I've had this opportunity to speak to you and for you to come on the Jamaica Diaspora Show and to learn about all that you're doing and all that you're going to do, particularly the salsa. And
Yeah.
I think that it is an opportunity for the Jamaica Diaspora Show
Mhm.
to embrace the idea of salsa in Jamaica.
Yeah.
And hearing from you, I think you are the person that can really developed salsa
Oh,
in Jamaica.
I hope so.
Thank you for being on the show. I'm so pleased that I've had this opportunity.
Thank you.
And hopefully we can do it again.
Yes, I hope so. I'm coming back to say, well, I've published this paper and I've done this, you know, to keep you abreast of what's going on, because it's amazing things are happening in Jamaica where salsa is concerned. And other things, but you know, for now we're focusing on that, and it's just great.
Well, thank you. Thank you for being on the Jamaica Diaspora Show.
My pleasure.
And ladies and gentlemen, that's it for the Jamaica Diaspora Show. We'll be back next week with more activities in which we want to cover for the diaspora, in the diaspora as well as in Jamaica. Thank you for joining us.